Welcome to our podcast,
Real Marriage
Real Talk
with
with Mr. and Mrs. Eagleton.
Today we're going to be talking about how to handle conflicts.
And some ground rules.
Well, really ground rules for dealing with it. Conflict will come up in your relationship.
In every relationship.
When you get married, it may happen sooner rather than later. It's probably going to happen sooner rather than later because you are melding lives together. And so we want to share some of our ground rules.
And they're ground rules that we have developed over time that I wish if we had understood and had more wisdom and had these ground rules early on, it would have alleviated so many other instances of having conflict.
Right. And I'll tell you that, I strongly believe that every married couple should have a year of couples therapy with a good therapist for the whole first year.
The whole first year. We've decided we're going to gift that to our children.
Right.
When they find their spouses.
The week you come back from your honeymoon, that next week you start couples therapy and you go every week.
Right.
You may not have any issues that come up for 2 or 3 weeks, but during that time, a good therapist will tell you how to handle conflict. It will tell you how to communicate. They will talk to you. You can build rapport so then when you have a conflict, you don't have to build rapport and establish trust in order to talk about those things.
Right.
Because typically when people go to therapy, it is because they're in crisis mode. Mm-hmm. And what they're going for is to find someone to validate how they feel and to tell their spouse that they're incorrect.
Right, to fix their partner. That's really, if you can fix him, we'll be good. Or if you can fix her, then our relationship will be great. True.
So over our 26 years, these are some of our ground rules. And this one we had to learn later on. The first one, I think, is the foundational one. And it is give your spouse grace and the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
But what do we mean by that?
For me, it is, or for us, it is if you've said something or I've said something and I've said it in a way that your first thought is, I know this person loves me more than anyone else. And because I know they love me, I'm going to assume that when they said this or did this, they weren't deliberately trying to hurt me. So I need to understand, why are you saying this? What's happening? And then talk about what the underlying cause is for whatever that action or word is. So I'm giving you the benefit instead of immediately getting defensive. I'm coming from a place of, okay, you love me and I love you. So I know you're not trying to just be malicious and hurt me. Tell me what's going on.
Which kind of goes back to some of the foundational tenets of good communication. It is, you say something, my feedback is, this is what I heard you say. Mm-hmm. Is this what you were trying to say? So you make a statement, I process that statement, I hear something, and then I say that back to you. Mm-hmm. And then you can say, oh, that's not at all what I meant.
Right.
Oh, and I'm sorry you took it that way. Or
I'm sorry, I said it in a way.
I'm sorry, I said it that way.
Right, you have to take responsibility
right.
for how you said it. Exactly.
Right. And so the first part is, I know you love me, and I know you wouldn't be malicious. You wouldn't be willfully hurtful. And if someone is, then maybe you're in a bad relationship, and you should probably figure out how you change that or do something different.
But I'm gonna challenge that. Because yes, they may be in a bad relationship. But I just observing people and observing upbringings and observing what people have seen all the time. For many people, saying harsh words that's what they experienced growing up. That's how they saw the people in their lives fight and argue. And it may just be like an inherent response because that's the environment that they came from. And I feel an extreme level of compassion for that. I grew up in families where You got cursed out, you were called out of your name, all of those things, but it's because that happened generationally over and over again,
And
and they may not be aware.
that's why I said, but that was why I said it wasn't intentional.
Right,
The intent was not to hurt you.
right,
The intent, I might have thought that was the right way to get you to act the way I want you to act, or to rectify some
true,
detrimental behavior.
true,
But giving the benefit of the doubt means I know you weren't intentionally trying to hurt me.
yes.
And if they say, no, I meant to hurt you,
Then you're
that's what I'm saying.
definitely in a
So
bad relationship.
you have a different
Yes.
you have a different thing you have to deal with then.
True.
So our first ground rule is benefit of the doubt. You
Yes.
weren't intentionally trying to hurt me. So now we need to figure out, I need to understand what you were trying to say, what you were trying to get, and you need to understand how what you said impacted me.
True.
Our second one is, and this is a big one, and I had to learn this over many years. The goal is not to win the fight. The goal should be to resolve the issue.
The issue.
The issue.
Right.
I love you, and if we are at odds and my goal is to win, then my goal is to make the person I love most lose.
Right.
And that's a challenging thing. And I never saw it that way, but I grew up debating, I grew up challenging, I grew
Winning.
up whatever it is. And so I always saw and I'll say arguments or fights as a way for me to win.
Mm-hmm.
I want to win the argument, and winning meant you would say, I'm sorry, you were right. But when that's my goal, simultaneously, my goal is for my wife to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's problematic.
Yes.
And the goal should be to resolve the issue, not to win the fight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we don't always understand the impact of words. So even in those situations, if it is about winning and losing, there's damage to be done to the person that loses.
Right.
Those words, there's damage there.
And when my goal is to win,
Right.
maybe I'll do whatever I can to
Right.
win.
Because your goal is to win.
So if it's belittling you, if
Mhm.
it's beating you down until you say I'm sorry.
Right, which he's never done,
No,
by the way.
no, I don't
Yes.
mean fighting. I meant
Yes.
verbally beating you down
Yes,
until
yes.
I wear you down, and you say I've won. You say I'm sorry, I was wrong, and then I feel like I've won.
Mm-hmm.
That should not be the goal of it.
No.
I love you too much to be rooting for your defeat.
Yes. Yes.
Our other ground rule is to keep it respectful. And we'll talk about the power of our words probably later on in another episode. But in all of our years, whenever we've had an argument, whenever had disagreement, we don't curse each other out.
Never.
We don't call you out of your name. We
Never.
don't.
No.
We may raise our voices. We have raised our voices at times.
Mm-hmm.
But our advice is to try to keep it respectful. And again, try to keep it about the issue.
The issue.
Not the
Not you as a person.
As a person.
Yes. I had gone. Avery must have been I don't remember. We had only had Josh, or we had both of the kids at the time. But I was invited to go out to dinner with a group of women. There may have been 10 to 12 women at the table, and I was close friends with one. I knew some of the other people there, but we weren't friends. And I think I was the only one that was married at the table. But I remember the women talking about how they speak to their boyfriend, partner, whatever you want to call it. And they would say stuff like, his sorry, blankety blank, but I tell his MF, just like all of these horrible, like berating words. And I sat there like, oh, and I said, do you really talk to him that way? And she's like, hell yeah. And I just remember thinking, I could not imagine talking to my husband that way. Why would I talk to somebody that I love, that I've chosen to be my partner, in a way that I wouldn't even talk to a dog? I wouldn't talk to a dog like that.
Right.
So what is that? But that goes back to maybe that's how they always experienced handling conflict growing up. Maybe that's how they saw their parents speak to each other. Do you know what? So I wasn't saying it was like a fail. I'm not criticizing the way that they were saying it. I didn't understand it because I couldn't imagine speaking to you that way. And it was more of like, I'm hurting that that's how you feel like you need to speak to them for them to hear you. And I can't imagine how they're speaking back to you, how those discussions are going.
And when we use such destructive language, it introduces another complexity to the issue that we're trying to resolve.
Sure.
Because now it's not about the toothpaste. Now it's about you calling me fill in the blank.
Right.
And now I feel hurt, which comes out as it maybe manifests as anger, but now I'm retaliatory. So
In
now
every
I'm
way.
calling you something else. So then that kind of
your mother,
devolves
your father,
in everybody.
I'm bringing everybody in, right?
Right.
Yes.
And so when you use destructive language with someone that you love, it is damaging.
Yes.
And you said, we were talking and you said, one of us said, and you cannot apologize words away.
No, they'll always be there. That hurt
When
will
you
always
put those
be there.
words in the atmosphere, they linger. You can say, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That hurt stays there. They can still remember how they felt
Mm-hmm.
years later when you said that to them.
True.
And over time, if that's how you communicate with the person you love, over time, you just destroy them bit by bit by bit by bit. And you build up all these years of frustration, resentment, betrayal.
And even with that, in addition to the harm you've caused, they carry those hurts with them into their next relationships.
Like everything else they've brought
Like
into your
everything,
relationship.
exactly,
And now
like
they add
everything
somebody else that really loves me,
Mhm.
that speaks to me in a destructive way.
Yes.
The other our next ground rule, and this is number 4, is keep it about the issue at hand. This particular issue today.
At this moment.
At this moment.
Right.
It is it's counterproductive to litigate and relitigate old issues.
You always do this. You always do that. Right. So hyperbole, we try to stay away from.
Right. We try to stay away from hyperbole because
Yes.
nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, right? Because that's hyperbolic, right? But nobody does something all the time.
Right.
Or nobody never does something.
Correct.
All you got to do is find one instance and you disprove that.
Right.
So we try to avoid hyperbole. The problem is, if I'm not hyperbolic, I have a harder way to make my point.
Right. Yes.
It's much more impactful to say, Tavar, you always do this.
True.
Than say, man, you did this twice and I really hated it.
Yes. Yes.
And you can't keep litigating things that happened years ago.
True.
That builds resentment. Then you have things that go unresolved. And then it's not about the toothpaste anymore. It's about you didn't put gas in the car when you left. You left me an empty car.
Right.
Or you left the kitchen dirty and I was upset about that.
Yes.
The other ground rule is look for ways to compromise and solve the issue at hand, not looking to win. I guess that kind of goes back to the other one. But if I'm looking for ways to compromise or resolve the issue, you know what? There's an issue. I'm going to go buy another tube of toothpaste.
Yes.
Issue solved. We have not discussed that issue, toothpaste, or any other issue like that since then.
True.
Because we can have 2 bottles of shampoo. We can have 2 bottles of toothpaste,
Right.
tubes of toothpaste. We have 2 separate sinks.
Yes.
You don't have to keep your sink any particular way.
Now that's more difficult if you don't, and we've been there too.
Right.
We
We've
have
been
one
there too.
sink, so yes.
Right. So, and this next one is challenging for me, especially because you have to understand boundaries of your partner. And Tavari and I are very different in how we deal with conflict. I want to hash it out and get it done.
And I cannot do that. When there's an issue, I need a moment to stop and really think about what the issue is and then process so that I can adequately articulate what I'm feeling in this moment about the particular issue. If I know me, if I try to resolve it in that moment without sitting with it and trying to understand what it is, identify the feelings I'm feeling at that time, what the issue is, I'm going to speak out of emotion, and that's not going to be productive at all. Because speaking out of emotion, it'll come out where it's not about the issue. It's just going to be about how I'm feeling, how you made me feel, and this is, and it becomes this whole other issue, and it becomes about you, what you've done, as opposed to this is what I am seeing that the issue is. When this came up, I felt this way. And then we can kind of focus back on the issue.
Right. And that was problematic
Early on
for us for sure. Because
yes.
when we had conflicts that need to be resolved, I felt like we can't go to sleep without this being resolved. Join us next time when we continue our discussion on this topic. Thank you on the Real Marriage, Real Talk with Mr. and Mrs. Eagleton.
You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Mr. and Mrs. Eagleton.